Street. Hey, what's up? Yeah, we're late. The Spike Boys are late. What else is new? You want to know why? Rob, why are we late for the podcast today? This is going to be a nice little cold opening.
IT, as always.
Oh, look at that. Tech problems because we can't figure out how to turn our fucking headphones on. That's how smart we are.
One of these days, we're going to do a bracket on how shitty we are as tech people. I don't know what 64 different things. But we have 64 different problems with our tech.
We're like Jay-Z, but we don't have 99. We got 64.
So, anyway, welcome back, everybody. We've got the round of 32 for our video game bracket. Johnny, you excited?
Of course, I'm excited, Rob. This is what makes the men from the boys.
Yeah, right. This is how we know whether these teams are worth, or these games are worth getting into the Sweet 16. So, of course, as always, before we get started, follow us and harass us all the days of the week. But Twitter is the best place to mess with us, and we'll mess with you right back. Now let's get started. So Ronnie can't be here tonight. His in-laws ambushed him, which, you know, we've all been there, right, Johnny?
Sucks.
Just
a little disclaimer for everybody. I'm running on about 2 hours of sleep this weekend. Out of how many hours on a weekend? Like 72?
Sure.
Is that right? I've literally worked 61 of them. I'm shot, but I'm here because I'm a gamer. I come here, I didn't even mean to do that. See, I'm doing puns, and I didn't even mean to do that. I'm a gamer, and we're doing the video game bracket. I'm just here. Right. I'm not on a lack of sleep. I'm on a lack of nutrition. I've literally had nothing but water and protein shakes for 2 days. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to come at our best, and we're going to see what we come up with. So don't give me any shit on Twitter after this. This is what's going to happen. We're going to be our best, and we can be like the Boy Scouts or the Army. I don't remember whose slogan that was. And we're just going to roll it off the top of the tongue and see what happens.
Also, you guys should give them shit because that's what makes great content, and that's all we're really here for. So this is why we love doing this.
And I literally have no idea what I just said, so this is going to be a great show.
Well, why don't we start with the top of the bracket and work our way down? So this is for the first entry into the Sweet 16 of the video game world. We've got Super Mario World versus Wii Sports. So, Johnny, Super Mario World, Wii Sports. What say you?
This is one of those matchups that pisses me off that it's a second-round matchup because they both deserve to go to the Sweet 16. Sweet 16 is a very coveted place. It brings you notoriety and fame. Hey, I went to a Sweet 16 this year. You know, but I really do love Wii Sports. It's a fantastic game. Get you up, get you active. But we're talking about MJ. Okay, we're talking about MJ going up against a very, very, very good, like, I wouldn't say Hidu Turkoglu. I would say like a Chris Webber. Like Chris Webber is like a
so North Carolina versus Michigan, but both in their heyday.
Like an all-timer. Like Chris Webber is an all-time great player, but is he like a great Hall of Fame player that could stack up against MJ? No. And neither is Wii Sports against Super Mario. I mean, it's just. I mean, it is what it is. You don't have to really spend a lot of time. I'm not going to vote about it. We're not going to catch any shit for this. Wii Sports is great. You know, we're doing the Mel Kiper. I don't even mean to. It's just the tone that I'm talking in. That time I meant it. Let's push on Super Mario World and continue.
I think there's going to be a lot of these matchups where it's just like, man, I can't believe these are second-round matchups, which truly looks to how good a lot of these games are. I mean, there were some in the first round that, okay, maybe it was more of a nostalgia thing, whatever. There's a lot of these games that are just flat out quality games, and they're matched up against each other in the second round. So we're almost getting deprived of these round of 16 matchups that, you know, we were hoping to see. So let's move on to the second one. Super Mario World obviously gets the nod for me. But they're going to be going up against the winner of God of War or Red Dead Redemption 2. Both two very modern games, both very compelling storylines, very gritty, very similar games, except that one's, you know, more of a GTA, go around and shoot everybody, and God of War is more like Devil May Cry and you cut the shit out of everybody. So, Johnny, which one's got your vote?
It's Red. Okay, Rob. I said it in the first round. God of War is good, whatever. Does God of War allow you to ride a horse and shoot bears and deer? No.
No.
You see the hat. I like fishing, hunting, America, and the Rangers. Other way. Other way, stupid. Anyway, so as a red blood American, I want to ride horses and shoot shit off of horses. Like, that's just what I want to do. And if I can do that when it's raining outside, I can do it on a video game. Yeah, like, sign me up for that. Like, are you kidding me?
I'm detecting a theme here. I mean, guys probably didn't. Those of us, the two people are watching, and someone's using our Spiked Sports account to razz us. There you go. Hey, feel free to jump on and join the conversation. But the last bracket that we did, Johnny was all about the cartoon that you watch inside your house that makes you think about the great outdoors, which was the Wild Thornberrys. That was his soft spot. So here we are once again with the video game that the great outdoors hitting his soft spot. You know, I honestly, these two games could go either way for me because they're very similar. Like I said, they just, I guess the style of play is a little different, but the premise is basically the same in terms of you play a gritty character who's going around doing whatever the fuck he wants, basically, either with the mythological world, where I'm a little more partial to, or God, you got to stop trolling us, okay? You're the only two people watching, Johnny. Come on, man. So I will throw it up there because it is a pretty silly comment. But God of War is more the mythological world, and Red Dead Redemption 2 especially is more of the Western, good old West. Both of them are great places. Both of them are well-done games. I'm going to go ahead and give the nod to Red Dead Redemption, mostly because I don't think you could beat Super Mario World in the next round. So it's almost like who gets to say they made it to the Sweet 16 in order to get knocked out by Michael Jordan, in my opinion.
Not a bad resume builder, though. You know, not a bad one.
Not a bad one. So let's talk about the next matchup. We have Fortnite, hugely popular game today, versus Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, which was popular enough back in the day to, I don't know if you heard of this, Johnny, but they made a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal based on this game.
See, I never heard of that because now my vote is obviously going towards Fortnite. Fortnite, I don't even know what this Prince of Persia is. Listen, Rob, whatever happened in the past is the past. Whatever my arguments were for something prior episodes doesn't count now. You can't hold that against me. Nobody remembers. You might, but you don't count. So this is an obvious answer here. It's obviously going to be Fortnite. It opened up a whole different type of gaming. Also, it was free. You know how much it was, Rob? $0. What's your favorite thing, Rob, in the world? It's free.
Yeah.
So it's true. For me, it's obviously Fortnite here.
It's a trendsetter. I mean, we were just trying out Warzone, Call of Duty, Warzone, for the same reason that everybody was trying out Fortnite to begin with, or PUBG, PlayerUnknown's, sort of all of that. It's a trendsetter. It's a new way of doing gaming. I personally am terrible at it. So if you guys ever want to hit us up on Twitter, we've also got our individual names here. You can always challenge us to a Warzone game where you can beat the absolute tar out of me because I am.
By the way, Rob, I've finished now like 7 times in the top 10.
Well, you're excellent. I think the highest I've gotten is 25th or something, and that was because I hit.
I'm not good with the team though so much as I am by myself, going off into the woods, lone survivor style, just doing my own kind of thing. I get like 3 or 4. I don't get too many kills. 2 or 3 kills. If I go to the gulag, I always win. Okay, we're talking about a completely different game here, but this is what Fortnite has set up. And it's set up this huge map battle royale game.
Right. That's right. So there you go. So like I said, Fortnite's going to move on mostly because Prince of Persia was a good game and, Jake Gyllenhaal, but also it didn't really set the tone for any new age of video games, and Fortnite has absolutely done that. So we got to give it props. Speaking of a game that, well, at least a genre that was completely trend-setting in and of itself, we've got 2 games that pretty much have they've defined their own genres at this point of games. We've got Mario Kart, the number 2 seed in this bracket, which if they gone through, they're going to be playing Super Mario World. So shockingly, Mario's, got a very strong chance to get into the finals. But it's going against Rock Band 3, which was kind of the pinnacle of all of the, we'll say the music games, the karaoke on steroids video games that came out right around the time that we were in college. So between those two, Johnny, I mean, do you have a preference? Do you have an argument for why one absolutely should win out over the other.
If this was Super Mario Kart 64, this would be a lot easier. Because I'm basing this on what Super Mario became. The Kart has become. If I'm basing this truly on what the game is, it's Rock Band 3 by a mile.
Interesting.
Because, I mean, the graph, it was great nostalgia to pick it, for the first round, and it is a 2 seed. But the gaming itself wasn't great. It was from like 92.
Okay.
And you don't have all the bells and whistles until Super Mario 64.
Gotcha. So I guess this is a question that I have that one of my friends brought up to me, and he has a couple games that he's absolutely over the moon about. Funny enough, they're going against each other in another part of this bracket. Again, a matchup that came way too early for its time. But he raised a good question, and something I want you to think about, not just for this matchup, but also for later ones. Is this a game that you could take today, plug it in, and just run with it, right? And just say, wow, nostalgia, I'm just going to enjoy the heck out of playing this game again. And you can't do that for Super Mario Kart 92, in part because of the graphics, but in part because it's a multiplayer game. You need to have other people around. You need somebody else who either, you have another controller or whatever. It requires a lot more for you to even get close to what it was before. So I agree with that.
We have some commenters, Rob.
Yes. So we are going to have Rock Band 3 move on. But before we do, we got ourselves a little, I wouldn't even say a tough question.
Flags from Iron Ostrich, thank you for the question.
What's going on, Flags? Yeah, so Rock Band or Guitar Hero, what's better, Johnny?
I would have to say Rock Band because you got all the instruments.
I would say pure guitar playing ability.
If you just want to play guitar and strum, that's cool. But if you want to have a group environment where everybody gets to play and the full game aspect, it's Rock Band because you can have 4 people on 4 different instruments.
Sure. When you could have that on Guitar Hero by the end, but they had to be slightly different. It was, whatever. Rock Band really just kind of made it very straightforward. It showed, kind of the way for people to have those types of games. Guitar Hero is the originator. Guitar Hero
didn't even make the 64.
Well, right, because between those two, Popular Mechanics at least thought that Rock Band was clearly the better version of it. And I would agree with that mostly for the singing. I'm the singer, I'm the karaoke guy, and so singing in Rock Band was easy to figure out. I still to this day have no idea how to sing, to take advantage of the Guitar Hero World Tour. I still don't know how to max out my score as a vocalist in that game because it doesn't make any sense. It's just window dressing to the actual game. So, okay, and he wants to have a conversation with us. So, all right. So I'm going to respond to that with 2 things. Of my top 5 favorite bands of all time, Flags, the Beatles, Green Day, I would say Rage Against the Machine, and Led Zeppelin are in the top 4 for sure. And which company went with 2 out of those 4 right out the gate? Beatles Rock Band, Green Day Rock Band. Fucking amazing games. I agree. Aerosmith, Van Halen, AC/DC, Metallica.
Also, Aerosmith is unbelievably overrated band, but that's just a different.
But see, I 100% agree. But those were mini games, whereas fucking Beatles Rock Band, Green Day Rock Band, you literally went through their discography, and it was a whole tour of their past history and how they went forward and all of that. They really did more than just said, here's a pack of songs by this artist that you like. It's let's dive into the history of this artist so you get to understand them and appreciate them more. So still in that regard, I'm on board with Rock Band all the way. And I'm glad you brought that up because I fucking love Beatles Rock Band and Green Day Rock Band. And I wouldn't even talked about that unless you brought that up. So Flags, as always, you're an awesome dude. You're the man. And anybody who wants to comment on our stuff, we're always here to fuck around and respond in kind. So we'll definitely let you guys know when you're throwing up comments. So with that said, that's 1/4 of the bracket done, Johnny. So
moving right along. Lots of energy. I have lots of energy left. I got maybe about another 40 minutes left in me, and then I'm going to crash. hard. I was going to make a really bad comment there. See, this is why we need to not do this. I was going to make a bad comment about some things happening, but I'm not going to do it.
All right. Well, let's talk about, crashing. Let's see. Let's talk about the next part of the bracket. A game that I was just actually playing recently. Let's talk about Halo Combat Evolved and Tecmo Bowl, a surprise winner from the first round.
Listen,
Skyrim.
Nostalgia is great. Tecmo Bowl was awesome. I'm single, obviously. I'm the single one, obviously. But it is clear to me that Halo moves on here. Let's not waste any time here. I mean, let's be real.
All right, fair enough. I was going to bring that same argument. I was literally just playing it this week.
Tecmo Bowl is fantastic. I mean, it really was. It set up everything that Madden would become. Yeah,
and to this day, even I think it's more balanced than most Madden games. So
So yeah, we know where you stand on Madden games.
It actually has offense and defense, and not one or the other, depending on the year of Madden that you pick. So, but yeah, Halo, like I said, even to this day, just boot it up on my 360 and start having a grand old time. So, all right, let's move on now. Another interesting setup because we've got Assassin's Creed 2 versus NHL 94, another game that really set the tone.
That's a real shit matchup.
Why?
Because now one of the big blue bloods has to get knocked out.
Well, so talk to me about NHL 94. I loved NHL 94. Is it a game to me, I look at it as this is a game that I can pop in today and just start playing and still enjoy it to the fullest extent.
Well, I can enjoy it because the Rangers won the Cup that year, and they were actually a good team. And my teams are never good in sports games. So for me, I love NHL 94. It is like the pinnacle of gaming for, I know it was almost 20 years old now. 30 years old.
30 years old now.
It's almost 30 years old, but Assassin's Creed might be a top 4 game for me, but so is NHL 94. So I'm going to have to be – NHL 94 was just so lifelike. The fights were real. Like, if you look at the graphics, they were unbelievable. The players were great. It really set up what sports would become. So this is tough for me, Rob. I'm not going to be bought, but I can be swayed by a better opinion than mine because my opinion is they both go on and we knock somebody stupid out.
I mean, well, again, they're going to be going up against the winner of the last matchup, so they're going up against Halo no matter what we do.
And I think both of them can be Halo, by the way.
You think either of them are in a position to knock out Halo? Okay.
I think that they could give them a run. I think there's arguments.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So here's where I come down. I love the Assassin's Creed games. You could see right there. I could do my finger correctly. There's Assassin's Creed 1. I've got 2, 3. I mean, all of the Ezio trilogy, which 2 is obviously the first one of. Brotherhood's probably my favorite. But there is something to be said about, again, being a genre-defining game and setting up kind of the sports game as we know it. But I also think of, can I really put NHL 94 over Halo, which in its own way, it and maybe Goldeneye, another genre-defining game for first-person shooters. I just honestly can't say that 94 was that good. If it was, and even like NBA Jams, you know what I mean? Like the nostalgia factor is so great there. But at the end of the day, it's a fun game to fuck around with stuff. It's not, to me, a game that is the end-all be-all. Assassin's Creed 2 was the next iteration of what Assassin's Creed promised, and it really did deliver in a lot of ways. And, of course, they continue to release those games today for a reason, because of the success of 1, but really of 2, and realizing the potential, because he ends up going to a bunch of different cities, and it's like just very immersive. So I don't know, man. I guess if I had to choose between the two, I'd go with AC2, only because you made a good compelling argument. I don't mind them moving on. Okay. And before we move on, though, yes, I am. So
huge nerd.
Huge nerd.
Huge nerd.
And a history buff, which is why, to me, Assassin's Creed is going to get that, because the history of the NHL is great. But at the same time, I've got you, Johnny, to remind me that the Rangers won that year. I don't need the video game.
It's just such a great game. Like, I want to get a Sega Genesis. I want to get Mortal Kombat. I want to get Sonic. I want to get NBA Jam, and I want to get NHL 94.
Well, there you go. So let's talk about another. Are you going to get Mike Tyson's Punch-Out at some point? If you could pull that up.
Great game.
Great game.
That's what we call a transition. That's a transition. That was very nicely done. I didn't think Rob could do it. Rob was doing it. He was doing a very good job. This is like a third rounder moving up to a first rounder for a nice little transition. Good job, Rob.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is matched up against Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
Okay, well, even Mike Tyson didn't win every fight.
Evander Holyfield? Is this Evander Holyfield?
This is this. I mean, let's get real here. I mean, we want to talk about nostalgia not going through because of gaming. This isn't even a close matchup here. Okay. And I know your thoughts about Call of Duty, but this is let's call a spade here.
I definitely think that between the two, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, again, I wouldn't even say genre defining, but just the series of games that came out of essentially the one good idea of COD 4 was insane. So I had never played a Call of Duty game before that. Of course, I checked them out afterwards, but yeah, I mean, to me, they reinvented something that I just didn't think could be reinvented. But it's to this day. I mean, we're playing Warzone, and we still got all the same perks, and you still got a lot of the same weapons, and it's still essentially the same game. The beauty of Warzone is that they've now turned it into Call of Duty 4 meets fucking Fortnite. So, okay. So Call of Duty will move on. Modern Warfare will move on to the Sweet 16. And they're going to play the winner of this next matchup, Super Mario 64 and Mass Effect 2. So talk to me, Johnny.
No, Rob, this is right up your alley. This is your game, so go ahead.
So here's my thing with Super Mario 64. I mean, it was the first one to feature 3D gameplay. It's from 1996. It's excellent. They made the transition from the 2D side scroller to the 3D gameplay, but it gives me a lot of the same vibes as like Donkey Kong Country, a game that didn't make it out of the first round because yes, it is cool that Mario becomes solid three-dimensional, but even that stuff gets perfected in other games. They kind of they transitioned well, but didn't really add a ton to the series that made it so much better. Or again, the marquee. It's not the Michael Jordan of this tournament, even though it's got the same character. So I would say that, to my mind, unless it's that level, it's not going to compare to Mass Effect 2, because Mass Effect 2 was so good that Mass Effect 3 was the biggest fucking disappointment of the 2010s, basically, for people who hadn't even heard of Mass Effect 1. Like, it made such an impact on people that the hoopla around Mass Effect 3 was insane and overblown. But it was all because of how good the game was before it, how good Mass Effect 2 was.
Fine, you can move Mass Effect on.
Okay. I mean, we're going to have to get into it in the next round, but that's okay. About why I love Mass Effect 2 so much. But, yeah, at least at this point, we've got very strong contenders already in one half of the bracket for the Sweet 16. So now let's talk about Zelda: Link to the Past versus Dark Souls.
Again, I have no comment on Dark Souls, so I'm going to have to give my vote to Zelda, clearly, because that's the only game that I played. And I didn't play Dark Souls because apparently it'll ruin my life.
So here's something that I want you to keep in mind. So again, I asked a friend of mine who loves both of these games. He said basically top 3 games of all time, Zelda and Dark Souls are like right there for him. And he's beaten the crap out of Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, all the Zelda games except for maybe the most recent one, Breath of the Wild. And he saw that matchup, and I asked him about it because I knew that you hadn't played, and I hadn't played a lot of Dark Souls either. I don't even know if I got past the first, to the first boss. And he said, well, having played the crap out of both of them, if I were to pick one today and just jump right into it and enjoy it, Dark Souls would still be endlessly entertaining, and Link to the Past is good, but it's also the third one in the list. It is OG, but it is not the original Zelda game, so it doesn't have that much nostalgia in the series. And to him, anyway, he would pick Dark Souls over Zelda Link to the Past.
Let's go with Rob's phone a friend nerd. Let's go. I love it.
Shout out to Andrew Casanueva, because he also watched our last
Casanueva, what's up? We're gonna call you our phone a nerd. Whenever we have a question, we can just ask Andrew.
I mean,
I really like that phone a nerd thing. I think that
I like the phone a nerd thing. I think if it's ever just the two of us, we need to have a phone a nerd thing and see if we can pull that shit off. But yeah, I happened to ask about it this week because I knew this matchup was going to be a big deal to him.
So he watched the first one and he liked the Dark Souls pick.
He loved the Dark Souls pick, and he saw this matchup coming up next, and he said, between the two, there are a lot of great Zelda games. To him,
so what you're saying is this is great for the video game, but for us as a group, we're gaining traction. Is what you're saying? We're having viewers.
We have 2 viewers right now, Johnny.
No, I'm not even on there.
I know. I think I am, but 1 viewer, Johnny. Still more than last week. So
let's go. If we double each week, then we're going to double to the moon.
Exactly, to the moon.
If you guys back us now, it's like buying Bitcoin in '91. A thing.
We're the new Dogecoin. Anyway, all right. So let's talk about one that's going to be tough for me anyway. We've got The Last of Us versus Batman: Arkham City. So Johnny, what do you think of this?
Never played Last of Us, and Arkham City is a top 5 game for me. I can get into it, but you don't want to hear my opinions on it because Rob's going to go in on the Last of Us, and Rob will say the same things about Arkham City that I said because when I played the game in my life was when I was living with Rob and we were playing. He would take it in his room, then I would take it in my room, and he would take it in his room, and so it's going to be the same arguments.
So my thing is that I really, really enjoy The Last of Us, and again, if they were up against anyone else, when we were talking about, the thing of The Last of Us is that it's the character development, it's the story, and so literally any of the other games in here that isn't by BioWare, they'd have a very, very good chance of defeating that game because of how strong the story is. In the next matchup, we've got like Final Fantasy VI. Okay, yeah, good, but not Final Fantasy VII level story. Donkey Kong, no story whatsoever. Like, there's plenty of other games that The Last of Us would just walk all over because it gives you a compelling, it's like a book that I can read over and over. But Arkham City is almost to that level, and it's much better in terms of, I think, the fighting, the gameplay, the battle flow, and it's Batman and his actual rogues gallery brought to life in a really awesome way with a unique story as well. It just kind of, Arkham City was a phenomenal game, and all the games I played after that from the Arkham series are just not as good because they were trying to kind of recapture the magic of, what was game of the year, Arkham Asylum, but was set in 3 houses basically on an island, and then they took it to an entire chunk of city and said, go wild and have a great time. It just, I don't know, man. I have to say that this is a tough one for me because of who the matchup is. I'm willing to give it to Arkham City.
That's the right choice.
Batman.
That's the right choice.
But it's because it's Batman. Because Last of Us is a unique storyline is phenomenal.
But it's not
I love it. If it was matched up against any other game, I'd go with Last of Us every time. So, but now it'll be interesting because we'll have Dark Souls versus Arkham City coming up next. But first, we're going to talk about Final Fantasy VI versus Donkey Kong, the original Donkey Kong. So, what do you think about these two?
Well, because I like getting laid and drinking beer and not being a nerd, because you're the nerd on here, I'm going to pick Donkey Kong, obviously, because Final Fantasy is for fucking nerds, and they like to play like these long-winded fucking games that I don't understand anything about, and I don't even give a chance to because I'm not a nerd. So I'm going with Donkey Kong and throwing barrels at other animals.
Oh, Lordy. All right. So this is truly a I would say a matter of opinion. Because if you don't like JRPGs, you're not going to get very far with Final Fantasy VI. It's not the only JRPG that we've got, but it's the defining one.
For people who don't know, what is a JRPG?
So Japanese RPG is essentially...
Sounds racist.
I mean, it was developed in Japan, so they get to claim it.
Okay.
It's essentially where you have a party of people who are all going into battle. And whenever you have a fight, it's just arranged. Your party's on one side, the party that you're fighting is on the other. And it's turn-based. You basically have all these menus, all these different things you can do, lots and lots of strategy, but they're essentially chess pieces that are playing against each other. Very different from, say, Arkham, where it's all real time and maybe you could slow things down, but there is no real, like, pause and select your right move and do that. You have to really press the button at the right time. Timing matters. In JRPGs, there is no timing. It's, here's the menu of all the things your character can do. You could take 10 seconds, you could take 10 hours, pick the move that you want for him to do or her to do, and they'll do it, and then there'll be a result of it, and then the next person goes, and then the other side goes, and you have to sit and wait for them to do their thing. And of course, it's a computer, so they go way faster than you do. And that's how the battles play out. So it is definitely more complicated than Donkey Kong. What I will say is that between the two, again, I don't really have a dog in either fight.
What game would you rather sit down and play if you had an hour?
If I had an hour? I mean, it's a good loaded question, Johnny.
How's that loaded, Rob? I don't know how to. First of all, I don't understand what a loaded question means. And second of all, I just asked a question.
Mm-hmm.
I just learned from the best, CNN, ABC, Fox.
I would definitely play Donkey Kong. I would definitely play Donkey Kong. I'm running right by it. I'm definitely would play Donkey Kong.
Okay, so Donkey Kong moves on.
Yeah. But again, the caveat there is if I had an hour, if I had to play the same game for a day, it'd be Final Fantasy VI. But, in both cases, I would probably want to play some other game on this list than either of those games if I had to play the same game nonstop for an entire day. Now, let's talk about the next game, next matchup. We've got Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, which was the first 3D game for Metal Gear Solid, or the over-the-shoulder, more traditional shooter, and of course one of the OG first-person shooters that are out there, GoldenEye 007.
All right. Well, since I'm exhausted and I don't have a lot of time tonight, and I'm struggling, it's GoldenEye. We're not even going to talk about this. We're not talking about it. This is the only situation I think where N64 actually bleeds PlayStation, and give me GoldenEye, and because GoldenEye is a perfect game.
Wow, a perfect game. Okay. All right. I see you. So let's then move on to the last corner of this bracket to get to the. That's
what you call making a definitive statement and winning.
Hey, I'm not gonna argue with that. GoldenEye. You
can't argue perfection, Rob. You can't.
Yep, it's GoldenEye, which is amazing, right? Because of the fact that I can't think of another. I
had to save up and buy an N64 from cutting firewood because I got a PlayStation for Christmas, but GoldenEye was so good that I played it at my buddy's house. I had to fucking cut cords of firewood for hours a day to get an N64 just to buy GoldenEye.
Well, there you go. It literally, it earned your blood, sweat, and tears.
Yes, it did.
Okay, fair enough.
And I got zero pussy from it, so it really was useless.
All right. Let's talk about the next matchup. Now we have Final Fantasy VII versus Resident Evil 2. So this one to me is pretty clear-cut.
Remember how definitive I was in the last one?
Yeah.
That's how exactly opposite my opinion is in this one. I could give a fuck.
So Resident Evil 2 is a great horror game. Part of it, and created characters that lasted, throughout the whole series. Zombie game, all that stuff. It's not as good as Final Fantasy VII. It's just not. So, Final Fantasy VII was the game. Hours. I spent hours watching other people play Final Fantasy VII.
So moving on. That's fine.
Just.
It's not beating GoldenEye, so it doesn't fucking matter.
Well, Final Fantasy VII has got its own side of the bracket. That's the number 1 seed in that corner of the bracket. So Final Fantasy VII is going to be going against the winner of Super Smash Bros. Melee or Resident Evil 4, a wildly different game from Resident Evil 2, much more similar to Snake Eater in that it's the over-the-shoulder. It's got the same characters from Resident Evil 2, or at least some of them, but it's just a completely different game. It's much more modern.
Graphics and fun and nostalgia from college, I'd have to say Resident Evil 4.
So,
and I didn't even play the game. I watched, like you said, I think we talked about this other. I watched people play the game, and it was just kind of badass.
Yeah. Especially
when you're stoned in the dorm room. Not that I condone that, but hey, 3Chi, if you want to give us a sponsorship, when I was, 3Chi, what up? Getting high and watching, horror games is pretty fun.
Okay. So, I mean, again, Super Smash Brothers Melee, or any Super Smash Brothers game, is only great because you play against other people, right? It's not it is a single player, but it's not really a single player game. And that's the thing. You could absolutely play Resident Evil 4 all day by yourself, or you could have a good time with other people playing, watching, whatever. We used to swap off. If you died, then you handed the controller to somebody else, and they tried to deal with the nonsense that you just saw. Okay, so we'll push forward Resident Evil 4. All right, the next one, a matchup that I have been dreading. Actually, this whole corner of the bracket I've been dreading because it's 2 games that I love, and they're both older games. They both have a ton of nostalgia, and they're of course matched up against each other and not against anybody else in this bracket. So we have Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, and we have Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
For me, this is quite simple.
Really?
Yeah.
And what is that?
Well, I got a Hojo to go watching. If you guys don't know what that is, you can Google it. I was watching Star Wars movies. I actually got a Hojo to go, which is fantastic for a young man of like 13 or 14, however old I was. And Knights of the Old Republic is a fantastic, fantastic game. And Star Wars is not for nerds; it's for everyday people. Zelda's for fucking nerds, and nerds don't get laid, and nerds don't get Hojos to go while watching, Princess Padme be fucking sexy as hell. I don't even know what I just said there, but
your story is excellent, but it's linking in with and see what word I use there. It's connecting with the movies.
Oh well, and there's nothing to do with. I know, but the game. We'll talk about the game here. The game. Dude, playing any kind of Star Wars game is going to get my vote probably 93% of the time, because you get to play Star Wars.
It's fair.
Greatest pop culture phenomenon in history.
It's very fair.
In a video game.
Even if it's terrible, which there are a lot of terrible Star Wars games.
But this was the best of all of the Star Wars games.
That is very true. That is very true. I'm gonna throw you a loop, man. I love Knights of the Old Republic. It was one of the first games that I really connected with as a kid, and that was probably because I was very sheltered as a child and nerded out as soon as I could get the opportunity. But there's something about Ocarina of Time all this time. It's an N64 game. It's got the 3D. It definitely doesn't have the graphics, but it's got the play. And even now, there's something about Ocarina of Time that took kind of the idea of Zelda, made it 3D, and added on.
You have a lightsaber.
It didn't have a lightsaber. You had a sword. You had a shield. I understand.
When all else fails, Rob, when all else fails, you ask yourself one question: is there a lightsaber? And I know that you're thinking about it. That might be a ridiculous question and a question that I ask when I'm being stupid. But this is a good question, even though I am trying to be stupid, but it's also a really good question. Is there a lightsaber?
No, it's a great question. And of course, well, okay. There are pieces of Zelda where you have something like a lightsaber-ish, but...
Is it a lightsaber? Does it make the noise?
No, it doesn't.
No. So the answer is obviously Knights of the Old Republic because there's lightsabers. If you want to put everything down, we'll put it here. Everything's great. Even. Lightsaber.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, like I said,
he's laughing everybody who's watching because he knows I'm being ridiculous, but he also knows that I'm making unbelievably valid points.
Well, and again, I just know how much Ocarina of Time not only means to me, to the whatever. It is a high quality game, and so that's the thing. Like if it was matched up,
and if it had a lightsaber, it would have won hands down, but it didn't. Guys, this is what you call guys when you watch these brackets. This is like an offshoot. This is like we're gonna have a side. Us are gonna have a side. Rob's not here right now. When I have no idea what one game is or one thing is in a bracket, I come up with other things to distract you, to make it fun. Like right now, I don't give two shits about this, and I know nothing about Ocarina of Time. I don't know anything about it, but I'm giving valid points that make fun that are very fun for the viewer to watch. And Rob buys into it, even though he doesn't really want to, but he knows it's really good.
So here's what I'm going to tell you, Johnny. Here's what I'm going to say. And I appreciate you, adding in a little context for all of our new viewer that are watching this. So I don't think that you have a game like Knights of the Old Republic without Ocarina of Time. And that's why it gets my vote.
Yeah, but you also don't have lightsabers.
But my point is that literally has not helped any other Star Wars game ever, with the exception of maybe Fallen Order, which came out this past year. Like every other Star Wars game has lightsabers too, and with very few exceptions, Jedi Academy, I'm looking at you. With very few exceptions, those aren't.
Rob, are you really going to vote down George Lucas?
I mean, so don't get me on George. If you're going to start pulling George Lucas out, I'm going to be much more against Knights of the Old Republic.
Rob, are you really going to vote against Chewbacca?
Who wasn't in the game?
Yeah, but he's part of the universe. And I know, and I'm trying to pander to your love towards Chewbacca.
Listen, I love Star Wars, and I specifically love Knights of the Old Republic. It is my favorite part of the Star Wars universe at this point because Disney took everything else away from me with the extended universe. So
that's it. The only way that we're going to figure this out, Rob, you're going to call a nerd. Call Casanova right now.
All right. Let's see if I can get him on the phone. This would be even funnier. I could really hedge my bet, and I could call Adam. And
no, Adam, no, we can't call Adam. Adam, no, because Adam will go with you no matter what.
I know, because he doesn't watch Star Wars.
This is terrible. This is a terrible radio podcast, but listen, this is a big deal. Lightsabers.
I understand. Let's see if he'll pick up.
Chime in.
Hey, what's going on, man?
I took a break from Mass Effect. I caved and I took a shower to get
What a huge nerd.
We're currently recording live, so welcome. You're on YouTube. And we have a debate. I went ahead and voted for Ocarina of Time, and Johnny is voting for Knights of the Old Republic, and we need a deciding vote. I already gave your whole speech about Dark Souls versus Link to the Past and picking Dark Souls over that, which won the day. So congratulations, you're our guest host for this episode. Who would win, in your opinion, Knights of the Old Republic versus Ocarina of Time? And why?
Ocarina of Time.
No, we can't hear him. It's very jumbled. We can't hear him, everybody. I'll take over the show. We can't hear Rob. We can't hear Casanova. We can't hear him. Knights of the Republic moves on. We're sorry, guys. We can't hear them. We appreciate him calling and answering the phone call, but
it
must be bad service.
Why does Ocarina of Time win out over Knights of the Old Republic?
Better game. Villain is opposing you the entire time, and Knights of the Old Republic is no different than any other BioWare.
Which game has lightsabers?
Johnny's counter is lightsabers. So, does that sway your vote at all?
There's tons of games with lightsabers now.
That's not yet. They did it right, though. Fuck. I don't like, no.
But only one Ocarina? Is that fair? There's only one game.
Yeah.
There's only one game with an Ocarina, Johnny.
Fine.
All right. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Andrew Casanova, everybody.
Yay!
Hey, this is better than doing rock, paper, scissors, man. I mean,
he needs to be on call for every Saturday night. He will be our phone a nerd because he literally said, I'm playing Mass Effect right now. Like, what a nerd.
Yes, he is. And that's why we love him. All right. With all that said, we've got one more matchup to finish up the entries for the Sweet 16, Johnny. We've got Grand Theft Auto 5.
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Versus BioShock.
I mean, let's not do this.
And this is, again, God damn it.
Ready, Rob? Killing people, hookers, cars, hookers, killing people, hookers, robbing people, shooting people, hookers.
So you get like 90% of those in BioShock, but instead of cars, you have giant robotic monstrosities with drills for hands that try to kill you.
Nerd.
I'm just saying, you have, okay, maybe they're not hookers. They are. There's definitely a few in BioShock that you can shoot and kill. There's all of that. Definitely shooting people, killing people, robbing people, and hookers. But fair enough. So what about, talk to me about Grand Theft Auto 5. Not just Grand Theft Auto.
It's the first one you get to ride a bicycle.
That's what we're rolling with. Trevor's
a great character. The storyline is probably the best that Grand Theft Auto's ever came out with, even though it's in that shitty state of California, which I hate.
So not the original Liberty City, which is home to you.
Liberty City. I'm a New Yorker. That's obviously New York. But I love the storyline's fantastic. The map is huge. There's tons of offshoot games inside the game, inside the main storyline. It has to be Grand Theft Auto. It has to be. Not only for the stupid reasons that I said, doing my shtick that I do, but the gameplay itself is amazing. It is. It is.
I guess what I would say is,
and low key, GTA 5 is great, but it's not my favorite GTA.
3 is your favorite GTA.
I love Vice City.
Really? The Miami one. Wow. Okay. Okay. Sure. Well, so here's what I'll say. This says BioShock. This means BioShock 1. This means the OG BioShock, which was a fantastic game of the year for a reason. If it was BioShock, let's say Infinite, for example, which absolutely mind fucked me and just blew my mind, made me question life, the universe, and everything. I would have a much stronger reaction to you saying GTA 5, because I figured you would like GTA 5. But I really enjoyed GTA 5 as well. I would say that it is, in my opinion, the best in the series. GTA 3 set the standard, got everybody in on it. Obviously, Liberty City. We have Vice City. Great setup. GTA 5, right there is San Andreas for just being amazing story, like an amazing storyline, and really adding just
they took the killings and the hookers and all that, and then also brought in a great story.
Right. They gave it purpose. They gave it meaning.
It was like Empire Strikes Back to Star Wars.
There you go. So I would agree. BioShock is one of my favorite game series as well. BioShock 2, the one that I have right there, being the one that I love the most. But BioShock Infinite was probably an even better game overall. But that's not what we're dealing with. We're dealing with these specific games. And so I'm totally fine with moving GTA 5 over the 2C BioShock to move forward in our bracket. So, Johnny, how much time do you got left before you crash? Because we've got a Sweet 16 right here, my friend. Do you want to hold off on it?
We are holding off on it because it ain't going to happen.
Okay. We will be posting the Sweet 16 on our Twitter. You all can come and check it out. Give us a lot of shit for it. Tell us what we did right, what we did wrong, mostly what we did wrong, and let us know who you want to vote for. Because next week, we are going to be putting up Twitter polls to see who the people prefer for these different games. And depending on your votes, you could very well be the deciding vote. Instead of my friend, Mr. Casanueva, who was the Phone Nerd, we will be going to the people for this one. So please let us know, depending on how you guys vote, and depending on how strongly you vote for him, how much commentary we get.
Try to get the graphic up as soon as we can on that, where you guys can look, and we'll feed it over on Twitter, and you guys can just let us know how you feel. We'll have it open all week. So probably Tuesday or Wednesday we'll have the graphic up, and then we'll have the polls up.
Yep. But so depending on how much you engage with us as well, we can always be bought. Johnny, that's our second favorite saying.
I'm a man of integrity. I have lots of it. But I like cash more. I have integrity, but I like cash. This is one of my judgments of cash.
We like sponsors more.
There's 20s in there. That's right. There's some 1s, but there's some 20s and 5s. I can be bought.
All right. Fair enough. Well, thank you all for joining in tonight. Much faster for our episode tonight than last week, in part because Ronnie wasn't with us, and we love Ronnie, but oh my God, that man can talk. That's like he has his own show or something. I don't know. You should check out The Anomalies. Check out all the great shows on the Iron Ostrich Network.
Rob, thank you for holding down the fort today because I was a little tired.
That's all good. It's all good. Like I said, me and my wall of games will be back. The ones that made it through will be back up there. The ones that didn't, not so much. We'll slowly pare it down to which one game to rule them all, at least all the consoles. So anyway, we hope you have a great week. We hope you have a great week. We hope that you get more sleep than Johnny did this weekend. And as always, people, keep spiking it.
Good show, Rob.
Hell yeah, man.